Good evening. I'm Father Russ Carmichael, and this is Street Talk. New time, unusual for me, 5 in the afternoon on a Friday. You know, usually we're a 7 or 8 o'clock show, but this is interesting. It's new, the end of the week, and I got a great guest. I got him back here. We're going to tell you in a minute who it is. I got Dominic, my co-host, is across the table from me, Dominic Cotton. I just want to start out, we start out every show lately, you know, our prayers and everything for Senator Andy Maynard. We're really concerned. We know he's recovering. We're very happy to know that. We understand that he's going to stay, his hat's going to stay in the ring. I wrote an article today for all you people who follow my Street Talk thing on Facebook about, let's put him back in office. He needs to be back in office. He's done the right thing for our communities. We need to make sure that we do the right thing by him. Okay, even being disabled, there's ways with a job coach and stuff like that. If he has a little problems with communication for a while, well, that's just, that happens. But there is no reason why he can't go back in the office. So make sure that you go out and vote for Andy, okay? And our prayers are with you and the family and everything else. We love Andy, you know it. We've known him personally for a lot of years. He's cared about our community and always done the right thing by us. With that, okay, I have a good friend on here again. I've known even before he was a politician, okay, who's running for office again. Another great man that you need to put back in office, Tim Bowles. Good to have you back.
Good. Thank you for being here. Inviting me again. I appreciate that. And Dominic, it's great to see you again.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I'm a down and dirty Democrat, obviously, but I try to be fair and balanced. Obviously, I've attacked my own Democratic Party. Yes. There's no question about it.
Right.
People know it. If you're not doing the right thing, I'm going to be there pounding on you. So I think I'm fair and balanced, and I can sometimes get a little crazy. You have been outstanding in all our issues and in everything. The difference is with you, I don't think there's anything I disagree. I can't find anything I disagree with you on.
Maybe tonight.
Let's go out of our way. Exactly, right? Yeah. So, how do you see the race? I mean, my audience knows you, they love you and everything else like that. How are you viewing this race right now?
It's going to be tough. It's particularly in a non-presidential year. The big issue, and as you just suggested, turnout is huge.
Get out. You got to get out.
People need to take their responsibility, regardless, frankly, of who you vote for. I just think it's important for people to take that responsibility, particularly since we have, as a history as a country, of people shedding blood, for our rights and privileges, and part of our freedom, part of our constitutional rights, is the ability to go ahead and vote. So that's important. But before we move on, I do want to echo your sentiments with Senator Maynard. Andy has been a great friend. He's been my state senator for years as a resident of Preston, and you couldn't ask for a better quality person in terms of his character, in terms of his intelligence, a whole host of things. He's just a great guy. So I share prayers on behalf of him and his family as they move forward in this whole process.
Right. That's cool.
I think even if you have difficulty with the communication piece. I mean, you look at Stephen Hawkins.
Yes.
That guy's master of the universe over there, and he can come out and get his thoughts out without any problem.
Right. Right.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's and of course for us, you and I, Dominic, we're in the disability business. We've been in it for years and stuff like that. So, and we know that there's no reason. A lot of people look at things. Gee whiz, you got a physical problem or something, like you can't think. That is not true, or you can't communicate.
Well, I mean, the other half of that too is, he's got between now and the session, he's involved with all this therapy. I know I've worked with people from the hospital for special care.
Yeah.
I know the quality of services that they have.
Oh, yeah.
I know how much he wants to be back in the middle of all this, and I suspect that a lot of these things will be overcome by the time that point is. It's just the most important thing is for people to vote for somebody who, and I've talked with a lot of different people across the aisle too, who have so much respect.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, he's unbelievable.
Everywhere.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a quality person.
Yes.
But I am very, and I have to say, I don't blow smoke. Tim, no, I don't blow smoke. If I don't like you, you're gonna know it if you're doing the wrong thing. But we are so fortunate in this area to have the quality people that we have right now, representatives. I got Betsy Ritter, okay, top quality person. May not always agree with them, but top, Ernie Hewitt, right there, and stuff like that. Obviously, Tim's right here beside me. You know, all around our area, we are very fortunate with the type of politicians that we have. Caring politicians, and you can't say that in a lot of areas, okay? You really cannot say that. And I don't want to say anything about empty suits, okay? We'll leave that alone.
We have a
Mr.
great-
Foley.
Maybe we won't leave that. We have a great delegation, and they've been very supportive, including Andy, and you know, Betsy's taken me under her wing. But we work well together as a delegation on behalf of all the constituents in southeastern Connecticut. We all, I think our number one thing is we really care about our communities that we're representing.
Yeah,
So,
it's really classy, a
Yeah.
classy group of people. So what do you got going on there?
I think there's something. I think there's something like there's an election coming up pretty soon.
He came like prepared with the
I've got my platform, you know, I've got it, you know, it's only 59, no, it's not, it's very short and sweet.
That is right.
Oh, God bless them.
Okay.
Good evening. You're on Street Talk, Ray, with Father Russ, Tim, and Dominic. Hey,
How you doing, buddy?
I love you, guy. How you doing?
See your friend on TV. Mr. Dominic's on TV.
You got
Hey, how
Dominic,
you doing,
right?
Hi, Dominic.
You know Representative Bowles, right? Tim's right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you certainly do. Our prayers. Are you doing okay?
Is that John?
You doing okay?
Did I speak to him?
Who?
Hi, John.
Dominic.
That's Dominic.
Yeah, he knows me.
Tim is who he's talking to.
Tim.
Oh, Tim,
Tim,
yes.
yes.
That's Tim.
Hi, Ray.
Right. Get away from the TV.
How are you, Father?
I'm good. I'm real good. I'm real
I
good.
am.
You okay? You need to get away from the TV or turn it off. You need to get away from the TV or turn it off. Okay?
How you doing there? How you doing, John?
Tim, that's Tim. Ray, you got to call back because you
Hey,
feeding.
Tim.
Okay, good. There you go.
There we go.
Got to say goodnight, Ray.
We'll talk at you later, Ray.
Talk to you later.
Good night.
All right.
Good night, Ray. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Take care. We have a little bleed over when they get near the
Yeah,
TV. And
that happens.
Ray, God bless you, Ray. Ray, I'm talking to you. I love you. Okay, Bobby's doing okay. He's in the hospital. I know you're okay. We love you. Stay watching us. And when you call in, shut the TV off, okay?
Here we go.
Right, yeah, good.
Yeah, good advice for everybody, so, yeah.
Good.
So anyway, it's good to be here, good to be with both of you gentlemen, and you know, this is a very important election,
Really
very
is.
significant in a lot of ways. The one thing that I do realize is that, and I think this has been critiqued fairly well by the media in general, is what I find lacking with some of the Republican agendas is that they lack a lot of specifics and they lack some substance relative to the issues. And then, of course, obviously I'm biased and it's my perspective, but it gets down to this, is I think it's too easy for people to say, let's cut taxes, let's reduce and control state spending, Yet we have to be much more specific in terms of how we're going to approach the way government does its business. And that's why I have a platform that is very specific and calls for some fairly significant changes, at least to be considered. And that's, again, people ask me why I'm running. This is not a career for me. I'm a little old for this to be a career. But one of the things I'm running on is the idea, let's talk about term limits. There are 15 states across the country that have term limits with some mixed success. But I'm looking at actually extending the term for state representatives from 2 to 4 years.
Right.
Okay? So we're not always having politics
Yeah,
get involved.
you no sooner get in there, you got to run again. Right?
And then the whole thing becomes a political system rather than a legislative process. And so I think we can do a better job with that. And then have, I'm suggesting maybe 3-4-year terms. If you can't do your job in 12 years as a representative of your constituents, then I think 12 years is an adequate period of time for you to make your mark. Then move on and let some other people
I'm
come
almost an 8-year, I'm almost the 8-year
Well,
guy.
don't they do that in leadership? I mean, you're only like the Speaker of the House for a certain period
And that's
Yeah,
correct,
yeah,
yes,
right,
and that's the changes I'm talking about is actually establishing a legislative commission that would you'd have to make some constitutional changes. But I think one of the things that I'm talking about is, given the challenges we're going to be facing with the next biennial budget, I think the first place that we need to take a look at is how we operate in the General Assembly, particularly in the House of Representatives. And so the other thing that I'm advocating for, and this is actually in conversation I've had with Ray Hackett, we had some good conversations from the Norwich Bulletin, is reducing the number of state representatives from 151 to 108. So we have 3 state reps for every state Senate district. An example I use is Montville. We have 3 state representatives, including myself, 2 state senators. I sit here and live in Preston. And especially with Andy not being available right now, I'm the only person that's representing, Preston up in Hartford. So I think there's things that we can do to make some major changes. And I think the budget challenges can force some changes. We haven't done anything since 1884. That's 130 years.
So long.
Maybe it's time to maybe just let's talk. Let's
about
talk.
it, right?
Exactly.
See, I like the 8. I like the 8 and 12. 8 for reps, 12 for senators.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
I forget where I got that from, but
Okay.
someplace in my political.
There we go.
If maybe another state or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I figured that if you cannot. Oh yeah, I think if you can't do your job by those times and stuff like that, then you need to say,
And
okay, throw in the towel.
And I think it's good for the
you know?
system to go ahead and refresh every
Yeah,
once in a while.
exactly.
So, yep.
New blood.
Yep.
And, okay, so we're looking at you putting that forth. And
Yeah.
Where else we going?
The other thing that I'm talking about, and this is also perhaps to some degree controversial, but I continue to be frustrated with the fragmentation of the human service delivery system in the state of Connecticut. I worked 30 years in the system. I worked for 5 different state agencies, including Mental Health and Children and Families, the Office of Policy and Management, Department of Social Services, the old Department of Human Resources. I've worked for 6 different governors, going back to El Grasso. Every time we have a change in leadership, we have a new governor, a new administration, the commissioners tend to change the catchment areas, the boundaries for the human service agencies. I was successful. I tried to advocate to have each of the state agencies, and I think I've talked about this on the show before, is to be coterminous with each other, have the same regional boundaries, using county boundaries. I lost that battle, but what we did do is, effective January of 2015, because of legislation I proposed, is there will now, and I think it's good for you to know, and your audience to know this too, is that there will be regional human services coordinating councils in each of the 9 new council of government catchment areas. And I came from a meeting this morning. Chuck Seaman from UCFS and Deb Monahan from TVCCA are the co-chairs. Jim Butler from the Council of Governments are running it. But we have nonprofit providers there. We also have now state agencies that are coming to the table. We need the state agencies there, and we also need, and part of the legislation is family advocates and consumers at the table.
Yeah. And I really think that is good. On the one hand, I think for families and as an advocate, you have to be careful because obviously as a community organizer, and I tell this to all my community organizers, as soon as you take a spot like that on one of the councils, it cuts you away from your community because you're dealing with what needs to be done in those councils. So that's a good way to cut your legs off, where if you're on the outside and you're dealing with families like we are and that I am, and you have a huge constituency like I do, and can shut the governor's phones off, then you have a voice no matter what.
Right.
Okay, you're going to have a voice, you're going to have family members on that council, but the other key is that I can go to you directly, I can go to the governor, I can go to those people in that way.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of community people have to understand that. Go ahead,
Well, I was
Dominic.
going to say, I actually turned down a position.
I was just going to say, right?
On
On
the
the
committee that
committee.
we helped to get set up.
Get set up, right,
For
exactly.
primarily that reason. I mean, I
Yeah.
felt, obviously, that we had a fair amount of access
Right,
to
right.
the people, and...
I think there's room for both. I think
There
there's room,
is.
and particularly from the consumer perspective.
Absolutely.
You know?
I think you need both.
Yes,
You
yeah,
know.
and I think that because we shut that out, and including them in terms of funding decisions too as well, on a more decentralized basis. It's not about getting more money, it's about using the existing resources we have a little bit more wisely than we tend
Well,
to do.
it's also about these departments coming to the table with people. 'Cause
Yes.
when it came right down to it, I mean, that was our biggest issue.
Yes.
Was that they were making these decisions without including everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And then writing it into their waivers that, oh, we had met with these people.
Yeah, we-
So it was like, oh, hi, we'll put together 5 people and we can mark a check off
Right.
before we send this into the
Right.
federal government
Yeah.
to say that we have public input.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Well, there's a
That's the
couple of
issue.
things. My issue with that, and there are a couple of things. The other thing is, obviously, as a family member, not only am I have my son, okay, he's a veteran, he happens to be in Louisiana now, who's brain injured and stuff like that. When I'm at the table of, as an advocate, I advocate for disabilities in general, and obviously in this specific area and stuff like that. But I'm not there for my own self-needs
Right.
and home, okay? And I have to keep an eye on that. So that makes me nervous when you get into that high of a situation where you're directly involved with the departments.
Yeah.
And you become on a board because obviously you're sitting on that board, that the department's looking for their agenda and you're looking for your agenda, and it can be difficult. But I do think you need both. I want a family member up there, at least I want
Right.
several. I want them there because I know they have that same interests I got.
Right.
Personally, okay?
Right,
But
right.
then I want guys like me and organizations other than my
Yeah,
own
yeah.
outside saying, look at you need to look at these things that we're talking about.
But we have to
It's
do
key.
it, we have to.
I like that.
We have to do it earlier in the
Yep,
process, though, you know,
absolutely.
and the ABI waiver was a perfect example of bringing in folks too late into the process, you know, to have a public hearing that was pretty forced. It was unnecessarily tense from a lot of different perspectives. We need to get you folks and find ways,
Early.
whether it's at the table or, you know, as an advocacy group outside of the system, we need to hear from you earlier on in the process, respect, you know, your input and be inclusive of your input before we unilaterally, you know, pass legislation or adopt policies that affect people that you're representing. And I just think we need to do a better job in getting stakeholders
I was
earlier
going
on.
to say, you know, when we brought this around to the legislature.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I felt like, you know, you guys were sort of the protective body, and it is. You know what? It's difficult pulling all the different branches of government
Yes.
into the whole process,
Yeah.
and you know.
But it was a hard thing from
Yeah.
from an advocacy point of view and
Sure.
an organizing. We had about 6 weeks to put that, I mean, it was like boom, instant and happening. I had to put people together and everything else like that. His brain was drained, him and a couple of other people
Yeah.
that were working on the analyzing all the stuff that was coming down.
He did an
while we were,
excellent job.
well, he did, unbelievable.
yeah.
In the meantime, we were organizing and getting people out and
And you worked
trying,
well, yeah.
But what was fortunate because one of the, I have a fairly active group of crazies, okay, and they got right behind it and have been in ADA for so long.
Yeah.
If not, they would have snuck that by.
Yes,
And that was not right.
No.
And this is a first situation. I mean, to have the legislative oversight over the
Right.
waivers itself
Exactly.
is a good thing. It's
It's
to be
great,
able to
wonderful
have
thing,
that,
yeah.
and that's where it really
Right.
needs to be. And like you said, having all different levels come to the table,
Right.
but like you
Right.
said, you need both ends of the spectrum.
Absolutely.
So we're together on these things.
Yes, yeah, no, I think we're probably, and that's the key thing. I think one of the things that I've been noticing, in particular this election cycle, is that on a statewide basis, we're getting much too hard on ourselves. I think people are talking about, it's almost like it's a psychological thing for the people in the state of Connecticut. And I understand the tax burdens, I understand there's a lot of problems that we have. And people point to the fact that I think it's something like 49% of the people in Connecticut, based on a poll, want to leave the state. Well, when I take a look at that, I also notice that there are 48% of the people in Hawaii that want to leave Hawaii.
Hawaii, yeah,
Come
yeah,
on,
come on. Yeah, exactly right.
Is it that we're just a restless people? But seriously, I think we have so many good things going for us. And I've lived in this state. I graduated high school. I've lived in the area for 40 years. I wouldn't think about leaving, at any juncture. It's not to say that people, that are retiring and moving out of state, or there's anything wrong with it. But I think we need to up the rhetoric, and we need to start talking much more positively and find the common ground. And I'm talking about the common ground on both sides of the aisle. I think the divisiveness that we have in this country right now is not doing anybody any service.
No.
It's destructive, and again, I think both sides contribute to it. I try very hard, and I have to say my opponent, so far, the same guy who ran 2 years against me, we try to keep things on the issues, and that's, I think, the important thing. But I think we need to kind of take a deep breath, sit back, be grateful for what we do have here in the state of Connecticut, and then work together, finding the common ground on how we make things better for all of us. And I think that's a critical thing.
I agree with you. Of course, I'm a little bit.
Well, you're a flamethrower.
I throw bombs and flames and stuff like that. I've had to all my
Yes.
life. Depending. As far as leaving, okay, I got family looking to settle here, especially in the area, do a business. We do a business now here and stuff like that. With the growth factors that I've seen over the last 12 years with the waterway situation that's coming and the growth factor, I happen to think I got a lot of issues with Danny, all right, wonderful governor. I'm not as respectful as you are,
Yes.
but I absolutely think he's done a wonderful job. I know he's dedicated in what he wants to
Yes.
do. I know he's concerned with this. He's concerned with my people
Yes.
who have less and everything else like that. I really do know that. I have no belief, and we push him, and we're going to keep pushing him, and I want to see him back in there. I happen to think, honestly, the other guy is an empty suit. Okay?
Yeah.
What's he got?
No, I think look, I think there's two parts to this. I mean, your first part that you're talking about is how do we bring people together and not make them feel so divided.
Yeah.
That
I'm going to shut you off because we got a phone call. Good evening, you're on Street Talk with Father Russ, Representative Walls. And
Good evening. Listen, I'm glad this gentleman in the middle said something about working together. One of the things I detest about what's going on in our particular area is the Hewitt campaign. Mr. Hewitt is an excellent congressman for us, or representative. And for anybody to go around and say that he won't go and debate them. He doesn't have to debate them. We the people elect him to office.
That's right.
Not debates. And I have called him many times, his office, over the past couple of years, and I wanted regulations. They sent him out the next day. So, I mean, for anybody that goes out there today and say this, I happen, by the way, to be 80 years old, and I want you to know I am sick and tired of people running for office saying, I am going to do this for the seniors and that for the seniors and this for the... They don't do crap for the seniors. They get into office and forget all about it. And I don't want to hear about ambassadors and this and that going to be taking care of the seniors, because it's not true. And therefore, that's all I have to say. Good evening to all you three.
Good
evening.
Take care, bless you.
Yes.
Okay, I know. Ernie, we love Ernie. I know. The person who says that stuff about Ernie, we both know he's not going to get 300 votes. He hasn't won in office any place. And to challenge Ernie, you want to see Ernie, you go down to Dunkin' Donuts 9 o'clock before he's headed. He's right there all the time. Any of his constituency can get him day, night, all the time. I love Ernie Hewitt. Okay, and he loves the seniors. He loves the poor people. You can't beat the guy. So he doesn't have to debate anybody here in New London. He's going to win. Sorry, Tim.
I think what we were talking about is, you're right, some of the rhetoric goes too far. But when you meet with people individually, from both sides, because I have a lot of friends all over the state, and they're all different parties.
Sure.
And, when you sit down and you meet with them, and you see that there is a lot of common ground, but it's almost like you have to play to your base in a certain way, and I think when that happens, it kind of makes them feel emboldened to go further, and it makes everybody feel like they are further divided than where they really are. And I do see a lot of bipartisanship in the state. I do. I know, different leaders have to be able to say that they're on this end of the spectrum or that end of the spectrum, but I think when you get right down to it, there's a lot of cooperation.
We find common ground.
Yeah.
Obviously, we struggle in probably some of the most difficult emotional areas one can. Justice Department, when you're talking death penalties, when you're talking juvenile justice killers and stuff like that. You're dealing in high emotional areas. When you're dealing with disabilities and stuff like that. Okay, it's not about money, it's about personal, gut-wrenching things. But we do find common ground, and you know.
You did both. Your whole organization, you did an excellent job in reaching out individually to legislators and sitting down and talking with them on both sides of the aisle, and that actually, you saw the fruits of that work, actually, again, going back to the ABI waiver controversy. I was very pleased with my Republican counterparts they were probably in ways more passionate about your issues than some of the other colleagues on my side of the aisle. But in terms of the bipartisanship that I have experienced in the last 2 years and 2 sessions up in Hartford, I continue to say this publicly. I give a lot of credit to House Speaker Brendan Sharkey, to House Majority Leader Joe Arasimowicz, and to House Minority Leader Larry Cafaro. It was very evident to me throughout the last 2 sessions that they had a sincere, abiding respect and an actual liking of each other, and it was evident in the chamber in the House of Representatives. I can't speak for the Senate. Don't go there. That's upstairs. But at least in the House chambers, I think they set a tone right from the very beginning, all the way through. Larry's announcement that he was not going to be coming back. But that kind of respect permeated throughout the session. It made it easier for us to
for everybody else.
Absolutely to reach out. We weren't vilified if we spoke to a Republican. Exactly.
That's really, exactly.
Yeah.
It's really, it's really wonderful when you can find the common ground, when you can do that, when you can reach across the aisles and stuff like that. And I know that some of the people that we dealt with on the other side, not the Democrats, the Republicans, I mean, they're really nervous of me. My reputation as a hatchet bomb thrower, but once we get down to talking about the real issues and where we are, we were able to work some things out. It was it was very good for us too. He's better at dealing with, because I do go. I'm sorry. When I see Mr. Foley as them having him up as leadership, I could have dealt with Mr. McKinney.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think they wanted McKinney.
Well,
but a lot of legislators
Foley
I've
bothers
talked
me
to,
because
yeah.
he plagiarizes, steals Democratic stuff and tries to sell it as his own. And the only thing he's ever done is downsized. He's like a mafia guy. I learned that when I was 8 years old. You go in, you cut out the workers, you get rid of them, and you sell the place, or you gut the place out and sell it for money. That's all he is, and that's all he knows.
Which comes around to obviously areas that you're involved with. Energy policy and environmental policy. And to me, and I'll give Malloy a lot of credit on this end. There is leadership. There is understanding about these things and what we're in with climate change and how that's going to affect our communities. I know he just put up a grant for Bridgeport and Milford.
Yes.
To do 2 microgrids to ensure that if we have like storms, like we've had the past couple times, that we have a way to be able to keep vital services open and in for business.
Yes, a great example.
And Tim was talking about, we do a hard thing, we're beating ourselves up. We've done really, really good things. Joe Courtney comes in with the grants for the railroad that's going to extend the railroad. Tremendous. It's going to advance the economic opportunity. Here we got the waterway. I don't know how much money. That's huge. People have been following that and stuff like that. I mean, to say that Democratic leadership hasn't done the job here is an absolute lie. And education, my God, I mean, we have done really, really well.
No, I think there are a lot of things that I'm very pleased with. I've had my disagreements in certain areas with the administration, but by and large, this microgrid project in Bridgeport is an excellent example of something positive. But I also take a look at, I was privileged to be at the kind of the groundbreaking ceremonies for both the University of Connecticut Clean Energy Center and their partnership with the Fraunhofer Center out of Germany, which is really going to focus on new energy technologies at the Mansfield campus up in Storrs, and as a private public partnership. You have United Technologies up there. You have other companies working on site with UConn graduate students, et cetera. They have world-class professors that they've attracted from all over the world. So you have that going on, and at the same time down at Avery Point, you have a governor that established the climate. There's a longer name for it, but I never remember what it is.
It's a tongue twister.
Let's call it the Climate Change Center.
Right.
And here we are sitting really in the middle of it. So we have a corridor, in terms of those kinds of things from Avery Point all the way up to the Storrs campus. And similarly, one of the things in my platform I'm talking about is, I think, tremendous work done on and you were just referring to it, Father, the Thames River Heritage Park between New London and Groton.
Absolutely.
Well, I think and again, God bless Andy Maynard, he was a key legislator in terms of driving that, getting the delegation behind it and everything. So that's a huge accomplishment, I think, for this part of the district. I would like to take it further and actually work on legislation next year, is to go ahead and propose the idea of extending that Heritage Park designation all the way up past the Mohegan Sun and Preston River Walk. Here's a program for the old hospital property. Let's get that.
I'm with you on that.
Let's get that clean energy. And all the way up to the Norwich Harbor. Norwich Harbor, work with the delegation.
Talk about job opportunity,
economic, cultural, historical, everything else.
You got to be kidding me.
And then what that also does, and I've worked on this for a number of years, Sam Gagenson was actually the chief architect of this, is that ties in to the Last Green Valley National Heritage Corridor that goes from Norwich Harbor all the way up to the headwaters of the Quinnebog River in Sturbridge, Mass. So you can, and I continue to say this, is if you can put something like together, you have something from the mouth of the Thames River all the way up the Thames River, all the way up the Quinnebog-Shetucket Heritage Corridor, all the way to the southern part of Mass, and you can really develop some tremendous things associated with that.
Yeah, economic opportunity
Right.
on that is unlimited
Yeah.
and everything else. It's good for everybody. That's like win-win-win. You
Yeah.
can't, that's better than hitting the lottery if you can do,
yes.
you know, I mean, that is super.
Well, it's and I hear this a lot. It's when people say, well, you're picking winners, which is a good term in some ways. Winners and losers.
Yeah.
You know what? I think as a society, if we don't make certain kinds of investments
Exactly right.
in some of these things,
Yeah.
we're going to be in trouble.
Right.
Not just as a state,
Right.
but as a nation. If we don't make investments in
Yes.
things that are for the good of all, I mean, that's
Right.
to me, that's what I call government. Government is for the good of all, and sometimes you have to,
Right.
make investments in order to get these things up and running.
But you also don't have to always rely on state and federal dollars. I think there's ways, I think a key thing here
exactly
is
right.
there's a lot of, going back to the recession, there's a lot of private equity money that's been sitting on the sidelines.
Oh,
The money's out
huge,
there.
huge.
And they're kind of waiting, they want some faith that, if they're going to make an investment, that that there are going to be outcome measures that are quantifiable and that really work.
Yeah.
But I think we're in a position to do that. And I think if we can create more, public, private, nonprofit partnerships together with consumers, together, tourism is a huge thing. Let's really take advantage of what we do have. The historical significance of this region. And so when we're picking winners, I have to advocate for South. I mean, my priority is my town, my district, southeastern Connecticut in particular, but this whole corridor, and largely because of the fact that we have for far too long been ignored by Hartford. We've complained about it for years and years and years. This governor, and I'll say it, as much as you want to critique him, I've seen him in southeastern Connecticut more than any of the other 5 governors combined that I've worked with going back to 1980. So he has demonstrated a lot of support and for this area, and I certainly credit him for doing that.
We owe him as voters. There's no question about it. He started on this show before when his first run, when I had the other show and stuff like that. He didn't make it the first run. Came back. A lot of people didn't support him, and it was too bad. Second time around, he did the job, and he helped this area. He's helping this area. This whole area, our whole area, owe him the votes to get out the votes and make sure that our people are there. He's done a wonderful job for our area, and it's going to go on whether he's there or not. But it's still the potential. We want our people who've done the right thing in there,
Right.
and I just I'm hopeful, obviously, and. As Tim said earlier, you need to get out and vote. It doesn't matter who you vote for. I want you to vote Democratic, but you need to go out and vote. I mean, that's key.
Yeah.
We've lost too many people. People suffered and struggled for your right to do that, and that's your power. You ain't got no money. You got power in the vote.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the only power you got.
Yeah.
So we talked about the waterway. We talked about.
Clean energy.
We've talked about, right, so where else are we going here?
Uh,
Okay, I haven't found anything yet that I can get in a fight with you.
we'll-
We're working on it?
Yeah, we'll get there. I promise you. But no, one of the things that I want to be cautious about, but one of the things again is the human service. We've talked about that. But one of the other things is, I think maybe some consolidation of the human service agencies might make some sense.
You're worried if I don't think you're right. I may, it depends, you know.
It's a tough one.
It's a real tough call.
Yeah, it is.
And I know it, and it depends. But I'm not sure I disagree with you. I think we'd have to sit at the table
Yes.
on a lot of that, and
Yes.
then we could find common ground,
Yeah.
because I have real concerns about, especially like when you deal with ABI versus mental health
Yes.
versus the drug situation
Exactly.
and everything. It's a very complicated
It is.
situation.
It is.
Now, in my house, I have the full load of compliments, okay?
Right.
But some people look at my ABA client like he's mentally ill and stuff like that, and he's not.
Yeah.
Somebody will look at my challenged people, how's that? Like they're normal and they're not,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
But they can work together, and they wonder how that happens.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're talking, you know from your own experience, the three of us at this
Yeah.
table know you're dealing with difficult issues, and there's no cookie cutter.
No, there's not. But I also know that the system continues to be hard to navigate. That we still are again, and I say this, we're still too fractured. We're a small state. We have 8 different major state human service agencies that I've identified. You know, and this is a thought and something worth talking about. I'm not committed to this necessarily myself yet, but I think it's worth talking again simply because we may be facing a fairly significant budget challenge. But one of the ideas I have is take for instance, take a look at the Department of Aging, Children and Families, Developmental Services, Housing, Mental Health and Addiction Services, Public Health, Rehabilitation Services, and Social Services, 8 different state agencies. And would it make sense to collapse them into one Department of Health and Human Services while maintaining the integrity on a division level of each of those agencies? So that you would have a division of aging, you have a division of rehabilitation service, so you still maintain some of your focus. But I'm wrestling with the idea that I'm still hearing complaints from my constituents about people that are on the phone for an hour waiting for
Disgusting.
DSSs.
It's outrageous.
It gets me
Yeah, crazy like
crazy.
me?
Exactly. Crazy.
No.
Yeah, and I think we can do that, yeah.
Yeah, structurally, go ahead, Dominic.
Well, I was going to say, I just went through this with one of my clients.
Yeah.
We filled out a redetermination for his food stamps.
Yes.
2 months later, I'm filling out a redetermination
Yeah.
for his
Yeah.
Medicaid.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah.
They're the same form.
Yeah. No, and there's simple technology available to us. I believe the VNA around here on the coastline uses it, from what I understand from Peggy Sayers, who is a rep nurse, is have a uniform application process. You enter in all the information
Yeah.
one time.
Once.
And you carry around your card. It's your private
your
information.
private thing, right.
You maintain control of it,
Yeah.
and you comply with all the HIPAA requirements.
Right.
But instead of filling out, you have one card. All the pertinent information you want
Boom,
made
see you
available
later.
is there.
Well, you got me there, you know I'm gonna go for that, you know that. And organizationally, of course, I'm a crazy organizational guy.
Yeah.
And I do, I believe there's a point where you need the buck stops here.
Yeah.
But again, the multi-agencies, you got one guy saying it's not my fault, the other lady saying, no, it's not my fault,
Yeah.
and all that stuff, so you get no responsibility factor. So in a lot of ways, I'm probably with you.
Yeah.
It's a matter of how do we do it?
It is.
And how do we put up the organizational chart that is effective
Exactly.
and works?
Yeah.
And I do like the medical stuff, obviously. I
Yeah.
like the one system. Yale, boom, that's what they've
Right.
gone to. Okay, that's where I go, Yale. I love Yale. Well, my hospital's
Some days.
schizophrenic. Depends on the day. Diane, we love you down there. Depends on the day.
Yeah.
Okay, they're still schizophrenic a little bit. However, they're working that out. And that one stop, because I hate,
Yes.
well, I'm dyslexic. So you imagine what happens to me with a form?
Yeah.
I can help everybody else in the world. I can't help myself.
Yeah. No, so that's an area I think we can make some vast improvements in, and as long as I'm in the state legislature, and particularly if I'm on human services, stay on it, then I'll certainly work on
I
that.
always find it interesting that budgetarily, DSS gives money over to Department of Mental Health Addiction Services.
Yeah.
They give money over to Bureau of Rehab Services.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always some, strings
It's
attached with that interaction.
and
It's
some
very
costs,
strange.
Some costs, and
Yeah.
it's worth looking at. It's just
Yeah.
worth looking at, and I feel we have leadership that would be willing. And more importantly, I think there's some budgetary issues that drive that. But onto a more pleasant subject, perhaps. The one other area that I feel strongly about is agriculture. And as a member of the Environment Committee, my wife and I have a 200-acre farm up in Preston. We are currently hosting a young couple, everybody's young nowadays to me, but they're a young couple that have a permaculture operation, which you have to Google that because I can't explain it yet, but it's a really fascinating, sustainable, locally produced food. We have draft horses and alpacas and donkeys and goats and pig and cow, and we have all kind of menagerie of animals up there, but it's all integrated with the forest, it's all integrated with the open fields, and there's a whole way of doing sustainable agriculture, which is fascinating to me. But more importantly, I'm on the food, have been active on the agricultural committee of the New London County Food Policy Council, really under the auspices of the United Way. They've really staffed it. Actually, Conn College has actually been very supportive as well. And the whole idea of going ahead and being far more supportive in this part of the state and across the state to supporting locally produced food, local agriculture,
I like
diversified agriculture. I think it's a significant economic driver. In this particular case, we have an administration and a commissioner of agriculture that I think have provided a lot of leadership in this area. And then you take a look, picked up the paper yesterday or today, and dairy farmers in California are going to have to starting to go out of business simply because they're importing hay from Australia, because of the drought, significant drought out there.
Yeah.
So I think for food security issues and a whole host of things, I think that's a whole initiative that I strongly support, is really taking a look at agriculture as an economic driver for us.
I'm having trouble finding places I can go at you. I don't know. This is getting to be a love fest here. Okay, obviously I love agricultural.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going back trapping this year, by the way.
Good for
a
you.
little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
People go, "Oh, trapper." I was a hunter too.
Yeah.
No, I really like that, and I like the local food stuff. The organization Fresh, when it started, we were part of that early on when they first started.
Yeah.
They've done a wonderful job, unbelievable.
Yes.
I like the local farmers stuff. We used them in the homeless shelter
Right.
and stuff like that, and the food and everything else. I just well, that's a whole
Yeah.
area. I'm like you,
Yeah.
and I think the more we do in that area, the better off we are. So Of course, you got my vote, but it doesn't. I have to go up there and.
I'm inviting everybody to camp out on my property I think you have to be there for 30 days, but no, I'm kidding. I got 200 acres, You have to get along with the crowd.
We can import all those people in New York that are going to be homeless now.
Actually, I think some people don't take this, they take this far too seriously. We are joking, okay?
I am joking.
We're not
It's a
talking
joke.
about,
We're not-
but I do, people, again, getting back to voting,
Yeah,
people need to take that seriously, so. But, no, I appreciate that. And and again, we had this brief discussion about the book and thank you very much for that. And I would like, at some point in time, after things have calmed down a little bit, and I'm still in position, he would have me back, is to talk about that specifically and that kind of approach. My faith informs me a lot in terms of my value systems.
When you read, he's talking about,
Yeah.
my view is,
Radical Jesus.
Radical Jesus, they know this is my philosophy. Obviously, this is the new edition that we just did. Dr. John Vincent was here, and obviously, there's a nice thing I got published in there and stuff like that, and of course, I'm supposed to do my book on this, but this is when you finish reading. It's an easy read. I'm going to have you back on, and we'll have a discussion about it. I want to give you. I got about 4 minutes, 3 minutes. Talk to the audience because this goes up. We go up on YouTube. We go up on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want you back.
And I want to be back. This experience up in Hartford has been remarkable to me. I've said this that actually yesterday on a show that I had a better education in the 2 years I've been up in Hartford than I have a master's degree in child welfare from the University of St. Joseph, but in 30 years of state experience, yet the last 2 years I have learned more about some things I haven't really cared about learning, glass eels and some other esoteric issues that we've had to deal with. But by and large, it's been a very eye-opening experience. And it's you, the constituents, that inform us as legislators. We have a general idea of many subjects, but it's thanks to the work that you folks have done around the ABI waiver. I would dare say that 90% of the legislators that you reached out to really weren't cognizant of this issue. I happen to work in the field a little bit, but still not as fully informed as you were, because you're in the trenches, and both of you complement each other very well. I just think your styles and personalities and approaches and strengths are tremendous. But this is an important election, and I care about this state. People ask me why I'm running. I have 4 grandchildren. I care about what kind of world that we're leaving them in. I feel I have a responsibility and obligation to do that. I enjoy the work. I work hard, and would really appreciate your vote. And I'm talking to people out there that live in either Ledyard or Preston or the Uncasville part of Montville. I would like to return. I think I will continue to work hard for you. So, but regardless of all that, again, please take the time and effort on November 4th to go ahead and vote for the candidate of your choice.
Very good. I really,
Thank you.
absolutely
I appreciate that,
good to
Dominic.
have you on. It's
Yeah.
always
Thank you.
good to have you on in our discussion. And obviously, this is a new time for us, but you can catch me on Facebook or YouTube and stuff like that, and we're on in different parts of the state now. Love the new situation we're doing. Dominic, again, love working with you. There's no question about it. Okay?
We're daily talkers.
All
That
right.
was great.
God bless you. Praying for Senator Maine and everybody, please.
Yes.
Okay, we love you, and we'll see you next week. Okay, the street should go.